Aquarius, wherever it sits in the chart, the relative signified by that house will have property issues, provided Saturn, Rahu, and Mars are afflicted. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is about Aquarius and it indicating property issues. Just like Sunil sir has taught, I'm sure he also shared this some time ago last year on the Facebook group, research group. So this is Aquarius showing property issues wherever it sits in your chart. So let me share the technique first. All right. So Aquarius, wherever it sits in the chart, the relative signified by that house will have property issues, provided Saturn, Rahu, and Mars are afflicted. So you see, it is quite difficult to have Saturn, Rahu, and Mars unafflicted in the chart. It's actually virtually impossible. So what you could derive from this is that whenever you have property, you're definitely having problems. So Aquarius shows, especially if you're an Aquarius lagna. So Aquarius shows very nice karma about property, and I hope your Saturn, Rahu, and Mars are not afflicted. So yeah, why? Because Aquarius is co-ruled by Saturn and Rahu, and that's even a worse combination than Mars and Ketu, which is of Scorpio. So Aquarius is having a lot of fun wherever it sits in your chart, whether it's property or not. But in this case today, we're focusing on property matters. So the technique is very simple. You just have to see where your Aquarius sits in the chart. Of course, if you're very young, you might not have encountered such problems, or maybe just, let's say, have very good karma, and somebody else from the family is, having these issues in their life. So Aquarius, wherever it sits, provided Saturn, Mars, and Rahu are afflicted, they will show you some struggles you might have at some point in life, not always, depending on the chart, depending on the transits and on the dashas. But at some point, it could indicate you will come across a big problem. So let me show you some examples. Maybe they will help you understand. Just point here, the thing is that the examples are quite loaded with explanations on account of that I wanted to show how Saturn, Rahu, and Mars are functioning in that chart. So just don't become scared. Okay, the first example of Aquarius in the seventh house. All right. So in this chart, Aquarius is very nicely placed in the seventh house, which means a lot of things, but let's stick it to property. And his, Saturn is in the Aquarius, Mars and Moon is there also. And Saturn is the sixth lord. So if you have a combination like that where Aquarius benefits from a sixth lord being there, that's a very good starting point for you. And Badakesh Mars is also there. And they're joined by Moon. You would say that would be a good news, but no, Moon is the 12th lord and it is carrying the energy of Mandian Gulika from the 12th house. So actually you have a combination here between the 6th Lord Saturn, 12th Lord Moon, and Badakesh Mars, all in Aquarius, all looking at lagna. So you could say that the native himself has such issues. So Moon is dispositor of Mandian Gulika, just like I pointed out, bringing that energy of poison to Aquarius. Then Mars is in Aquarius. Just Mars in Aquarius. Also, Sunil sir has posted on Facebook research group that having Mars in Aquarius is enough to guarantee trouble in property. you know why? Because Mars is Karaka of property, and Aquarius, just like Ruchiji said, is a blessed sign, abounding in all sorts of troubles. But we all have Aquarius somewhere in the chart, and you know, it's not just a single zone in our life that's afflicted. You can also see it from the moon or from the Ruda lagna. You can also play around with it in the divisional charts, especially the D4 if you're interested in seeing anything to do with Aquarius and property. So Mars alone is a problem here. All right. Of course, I'm not showing the D9 here, but Saturn, although you might find it very strong and beautiful, it is not. It is debilitated in D9. So yeah, and it also has a problem there being combust. So this Saturn brings a lot of issues in his life. Then we take Rahu. Rahu is in, you know, because we have to analyze Mars, Rahu, and Saturn to indicate that Aquarius is afflicted somehow. So Rahu in his chart is in the 10th house in Taurus with the retrograde Jupiter, who's the 8th lord. You see, a retrograde 8th lord in the 10th house, you know, that leads to some scandals. But let's see what happened in his case. So this person's wife, you know, 7th house is the wife, the spouse, has property issues. Her father tried to remove her from official documents, you know, connected to her inheritance from her passed away mother. So the father denied in front of the notary, so of an official person, that he even had a daughter at all. So like that, he just wanted to deny this man's wife the inheritance she was supposed to receive. Of course, the page is not big enough for me to explain everything going on in this chart. The native himself has property issues and, you know, a lot of squabbling about it with his father. And because of that, they're not on speaking terms today. So, you know, you see Aquarius in 7th house, but also just think that it also aspects the lagna. So the problem also goes to the native himself. Right. Okay. Let's go to the second example where Aquarius is in the 2nd house. All right. So here Saturn and Rahu are in the 3rd house in Pisces, and their dispositor is in the 9th house, retrograde, and with Ketu. So immediately you can say that Aquarius is having problems, and not just Aquarius, but anyway, let's stick to that. Mars, Karaka property, is the 11th lord, Scorpio, denoting father's sibling. So this native's father had a sibling. And Mars is in Libra, so another indicator that there's some property trouble, because, you know, Mars in air signs are also indicative of property troubles, as far as I remember, also from Sunil Sir. Dispositor of Mars, Venus, goes to join the gang of Saturn and Rahu. Of course, Venus, you'd say it's exalted, but, you know, in such a good company of thugs, Venus cannot perform beautifully, so leave all hope behind. Native's father inherited the house, but he did not want to share the inheritance with anyone, not even his children, respectively the native. So he had sold the house for lots of money, beautiful money, but didn't give anybody a dime, and spent it all on a lavish vacation at the seaside many, many years ago. So this is one piece of the fun this person had about inheritance. She didn't get any. Then the second part is that her uncle, which is father's brother, you know, the 11th house I was indicating Mars is a lord of, he got his hands on their mother's property. That means paternal grandmother of this native, which is the 12th house. You see, this is the father, and 4th from the father is the 12th house of paternal grandmother. So the uncle also got his hands on the property from his mother, which was quite significant. And he decided also not to give anything to anybody. Everybody wanted a piece of that. It was a lot of property. Yeah, so a lot of hiding and lying in this case. You see, second house is the house of family. And Rahu and Saturn together in the third house, not a very good indicator of goodwill in the family. The third example would be Aquarius in the fifth house. Ketu is there in Aquarius. A fifth house where you might always think it's love, education, and children, but it's also the second house from the fourth, which denotes something that you gain out of the fourth house. That means gains of property. Yeah, that means she's headless. Ketu means you're headless and you make mistakes about that. Then you go to Saturn. Saturn is over here in Leo in the 11th house. Okay. It is in enemy sign. It is with the enemy sun. And it is joined also by sixth Lord Jupiter. You see, Lord of sixth house Pisces, Jupiter is also coming to Leo. Sixth Lord also denotes loans, and because it's Jupiter's means something big you take, a big loan. And with Sun, in Leo, everything is, very extravagant, a big mistake. And Mercury is also there. Yeah, an important thing to note, maybe Sunil sir has not insisted upon it until now because many of us are beginners, but a solar eclipse is important to see if and when it occurred during, after, or before your birth. So take note of that if you can. Both solar and lunar, they are very, very important dates and degrees. But in her case, a solar eclipse would follow only 2 days after her birth. So that's significant. And plus, to make things worse, is that all these Leo planets over here are her Badaka house. So you can imagine her struggles, especially that you want a Leo to behave nicely in your chart if you want to have some fun in life. But not in her case. Mars is also debilitated in the 10th house, aspect in the fourth house, of property. And its dispositor moon is in Gemini 9th house, which is the house of father. Of course, it is aspected by Ketu, showing more, thoughtlessness, bad mistakes related to home. Moon is the home. So this native had a huge, huge, huge desire to own a home. She took a very big loan and bought a large apartment somewhere in the capital city of our country. Although she was single, she wasn't even involved in a relationship at the time. And she said she did that because she wanted to prove to her father, ninth house, she was capable to do that and more. But you know how karma plays tricks on us, and then soon after she remained unemployed and was unable to pay her loans. And the bank, seized her house and sold it for a tenth of the price she acquired it with. So she remained with no money, no house, and huge amount of debts towards the bank too, because that didn't cover whatever she was owing. And of course, her name got trashed, and her self-respect was, shattered. And yeah, that was a very, very bad time for her. So you can see how a very you wouldn't actually consider that if you would look at the property analysis of this chart. But in this case, seeing Aquarius really helps in the analysis. Of course, many of her planets are going to Leo anyway, so that's the 8th from the 4th house, so you could see trouble there. Why? Because, wanting to be flamboyant and magnificent in whatever you're doing, Leo must show off somehow. So that's what she did. All right. The fourth example has Aquarius in lagna. with Sun, Venus, and Gulika. So over here, the story is quite even more dramatic. You will see why. So it has Badakesh, Venus. Venus is Badakesh in this chart, being the 9th lord for Aquarius. And it is also combust. And of course, joined by Gulika. Saturn, if you want to take the, going back, because it's retrograde, going back to the 7th house, also aspects, this Aquarius. So contributing to, an even worse situation. Okay, so Saturn and Rahu are in the 8th house in Virgo. So that's never a good combination to have in the chart if you want to have a nice and easy life. But what to do? Retrograde Jupiter also is there. So all this indicates huge debt connected to property. I mean, karmic debt, not necessarily money. Their dispositor is Mercury, which is in the 12th house. So Sunil Sir is always showing us how to use dispositors and to really put our, the base of our analysis on dispositors, because that always shows the direction, where things are moving, where things headed to. So dispositor being Mercury in the 12th house. Okay, that's another piece of bad news, and it is also in Parivartan Yoga with Saturn. Mercury is in Capricorn and Saturn is in Virgo. Each one is in each other's sign, so that links, two bad houses, two Trika houses, 8 and 12. So it magnifies the problem in this person's life. Mercury, okay, is with the 6th lord moon, so thus binding, the 6th house, 8th house, and 12th house together in a magnificent yoga of suffering. So that's very not fun to have. And of course, we have to consider Mars. It is strong, it is in Aquarius. It is in Aquarius, it's in Scorpio own sign in the 10th house, so it has directional strength. But it is also aspected by Saturn retrograde from the 8th house and also by Ketu from the 2nd house. Okay, so 10th house is usually showing somebody powerful, somebody who is in power, and somebody who can make your life hell, because it is Scorpio, and Scorpio only brings havoc and reverse. I mean, drama in your life. So, but at least the property Karaka Mars is strong. It is in Scorpio, and that shows that she had her share of inheritance in her youth. So this native got a large inheritance, many pieces of land. When she was very young, her parents passed away too soon, and she inherited all this land. But not many years later, I think it was like less than 10 years, communists came to power and they took all her land away, and she never got it back. Her children had to struggle, with a lot of documents, and many years it took for them to gain the rights on some pieces of her land. But that was actually good enough for the entire family. So, a very heavy karma in this case. Aquarius is in lagna. I hope Ruchiji does not have the same positionings like her. And yeah, a lot of drama happened. Actually, her life was very traumatic and interesting to study in astrology. Okay,
That is
example
not
number
me. She's not
5.
talking about me. My life has not been dramatic.
No.
But she's
Not
talking about
talking.
that
You have an
native.
amazing
Before
life.
someone misunderstands that statement.
No. It was about that native, not you. So example number 5 has Aquarius again in the 5th house, so another Libra lagna, just like I showed 2 examples back. So Aquarius is over here in the 5th house with Mars. So let's go ahead with the analysis of Mars. So Mars in Aquarius, just like I said before, shows some sins related to property done in the past lives. And in this case, Mars is also getting Saturn's 10th aspect from the 8th house of Taurus. So Mars is in third from the third house. You know that Sunil is always urging us to see the chart. We have our chart like it doesn't only belong to us, but to everybody around us. So that's why we use the Bhavat Bhavam concepts and see where planets fall from each and every house and relative in our life. So Mars is also showing some heated discussions with the sibling, of course, because of property. Let's go and see Saturn. Saturn, it is in the 8th house. It is with the 8th Lord Venus, and it's also joined by Monday. Of course, Mars is aspecting too. So there's Mars is aspecting Saturn, and Saturn is returning the favor and aspecting Mars. So they're both supporting each other in doing bad things. So again, mistakes from previous life are indicated, but also it shows a good inheritance because the 8th Lord is strong here. It shows it late in life because Saturn is there, making things a little bit delayed, but it came. Rahu, let's see Rahu. It is debilitated in not 4th house of property, but in the 3rd house. So it is also what? Oh no, in the 3rd house of sibling, and its dispositor Jupiter is debilitated, and in Papkartari in the house of property, 4th house. So a lot of struggle. The Papkartari actually shows that you're struggling, you cannot make your move. Left and right, you're forced, to stay in your in your spot, unable to move forward. So he had disagreements with his brother regarding the properties they inherited from their parents, and they're still squabbling about that. What to do, when to sell, if to sell. No, let's keep it. Let's have some fun summertime here. Let's bring our families, but they never do that. One is also living abroad, so that never happens. And the property stays there. It is not occupied, and it is degrading, and so is their inheritance. So, the property itself might be wonderful, all the documents might be gorgeous, up to date, everything, but just one person is sufficient in your life to ruin it all, and so you cannot enjoy it, definitely. All right, another Aquarius in the 5th house. I know a lot of Libra people. This time, friend of ours. Again, 5th house, and let's see, it is aspected by Saturn, again from the 8th house, Taurus. So just another example to put things in perspective, kind of the same positionings, but not exactly. Badakesh Sun is aspecting, and Badaka Mars is there too, so making things quite bad. And of course, Mars is the 7th lord of wife, and it is also the lord of Scorpio. It is dispositor of Gulika and Mandi, so it brings a lot of unpleasantness to property-related issues. So let's go and see Saturn now. It is in the 8th house in Taurus. It is aspected by Rahu from the 4th house. Saturn is the 4th lord, so having 4th lord in the 8th house might indicate several things, but it certainly points to some trouble-related inheritance. So past life karma regarding property and debts regarding family, because it's in Taurus. And of course, struggle for money. If you see Aquarius is aspected by Saturn, Mars, and Sun. No benefic aspects to it, nothing to help the situation at all. Rahu is in Capricorn in the 4th house, another affliction. It is opposite 12th Lord Mercury. That's cheating yoga, whenever Rahu and Mercury get together. They're planning a party for you. Mars is a big maraka, for this Libra lagna. It is in Badakastana. It is combust. And it is aspected by this retrograde Jupiter from the third house, who's a functional malefic, because it owns, for Libra Lagnas, Jupiter owns quite not good houses, the third and the sixth. So it acts like a malefic in some situations. And it is also the third lord of siblings. So again, some karma related to siblings as far as property is concerned. So he married and bought an apartment with his own money. But after 8 years of marriage, they divorced and his wife took the house. Just like that. She just got the house. And he was left on the streets. He also has a property dispute with his younger brother regarding their parents' property. The brother doesn't want to give him not even permission to live there, not to speak of sharing the money from the sale of the house. So, his karma regarding property is quite bad. He's had so many happenings regarding that. I cannot tell you. Almost every year something is happening about his property, wherever he's sitting, whether it's inherited or not. He's living with rent, so quite bad conditions for him as far as property is concerned. Maybe later in life, some of that karma goes away. Another example, this time Aquarius is in the 9th house. All right, and this man inherited very, very, very large estate from his father. Of course, this man was a king, and Mars is aspecting. Mars is Karaka of property. It is aspecting from the 3rd house. Saturn and Rahu are in the 4th house in Virgo. So just like I said some charts back, you remember Saturn, Rahu, Virgo combination is a very, very, very not nice thing to have in your chart. And they're joined by Balakesh, for dual signs. 7th house becomes the Badaka house, and Jupiter in this case is Badakesh in Virgo, in enemy sign, with Rahu and Saturn and the debilitated Venus. If you see in his chart the degrees of Jupiter and of Venus, they're actually in the same degree, very, very close together, and that shows they're in a Graha Yuddha or a planetary war, as you would say it. And of course, his entire 4th house is in Papkartari from 3rd house Mars and Sun Mercury from the 5th house, because Mercury behaves like a malefic in his chart, although it's a lagna lord. Many times being lagna lord in such a conjunction shows he makes very bad decisions. So not very good. Mars is in Leo in the 3rd house, at the very, very, very end of, if you see 2954 Leo. So it's not good to have a planet so far away most of the time. It's an old planet. So not very good. Dispositor of it, again, looking at dispositor is Sun. It is debilitated in the 5th house with the Lagna Lord. 4th house, as I said, it's in Papkartari, and dispositor Mercury is retrograde and combust, but in Parivartan Yoga with Venus. So gaining some strength, but actually not good enough to make a difference. So this chart is a former king of Romania, of my country, and he was king in his early life for only 7 years. So the communists came and forced him to abdicate at gunpoint and to leave the country. So he lost an entire country. Okay, so a very, very, very huge property. He never regained the throne again. He made several attempts until recently when he passed away. Even his family tries to gain some recognition but are unable to. All right, so he got an entire country, which at the time was even bigger than today, almost double, from his family, only to lose it all later. So a lot of heavy karma related to property. If you remember in one of the charts I showed before with an Aquarius lagna, all this combination, Rahu Saturn from Virgo was here in the 8th house, showing some heavy karma related to inheritance. Well, in this case, it's it's somehow mirroring that positioning, bringing some malefic energy to the idea of property. I mean, now don't think that he was a poor man because he just forced to abdicate. He left with a lot of money, so you shouldn't worry about his, his fortune. But being a king and not having a country, that's a big, big bad karma.